is absolutely fizzing with excitement about tomorrow's by-election in the southeast Melbourne seat at Dunkley. Oh, I am. It is currently a super tight race and the results could change the political landscape big time.
Dunkley is here.
What up?
The by-election is tomorrow, and the whole shebang is a litmus test on which political party is winning the hearts and minds of the nation.
By-elections are tough, but we've got the best candidate.
Today, in a last-ditch appeal to voters, Labor candidate Jodie Bellier had a catchy slogan.
I asked the people of Dunkley to vote for me.
And she mentioned all her party's greatest hits.
Cost of living, housing affordability, strengthening Medicare.
While her opponent, Liberal hopeful Nathan Conroy, gave it his best crack.
Cost of living, community infrastructure, housing, support me. I am going to be a champion.
He's a local champion.
It'll be tough going for Nathan, the champion, as Labor holds the seat by 6.3%. But Liberals reckon they smell blood.
I think the people of Dunkley can send a message on behalf of millions of Australians. They know that this is a bad government.
It's been a hair-raising campaign with third-party pot stirrers Advance spending plenty on ads attacking the Albo government on crime.
The Albanese government's released 149 people, hardened criminals.
Liberal pollies are now amplifying that by invoking Dunkley-specific crime issues.
People are sleeping with weapons next to themselves.
And by throwing out Molotov cocktails like this.
If you live in Frankston and you've got a problem with Victorian women being assaulted by foreign criminals, vote against Labor.
This Susan Lee tweet is in relation to the arrest of a man released due to the High Court's ruling on indefinite detention. The arrest was later found to be wrongful and the charges against the man dropped.
You just have a fear campaign about everything and a solution for nothing. And that's what Peter Dutton does.
Police have withdrawn the charges and you should delete that tweet.
As a woman, I am not taking a backward step on this and I'm calling it out.
Anyway, good times.
I will be a strong, local, confident representative.
I am the underdog, but Australia loves an underdog.
Well, as fortune would have it, ABC journalist David Speers' middle name is in fact Dunkley. He's here to set this whole thing straight. David Dunkley Speers, who's going to win and why?
Look, I suspect Labor's going to win this. That's certainly the expectation of most of those I've spoken to on both sides, both Labor and Liberal. It would be quite an upset for the Liberals to win it. But look, Labor will lose some votes, and there's a few reasons why. They won their seat at the last few elections. Their local member, Peter Murphy, was well loved. She died, sadly, from cancer towards the end of last year. So without her there, that might hurt Labor. Cost of living, all these interest rate rises, the pain people are under, particularly felt in a part of Melbourne, out of Melbourne, like Dunkley. So governments often get a bit of blame for that. Third reason, Scott Morrison's no longer there. He was Prime Minister at the last election. He was pretty unpopular in many parts, particularly in Victoria. Without him there, that might bring down the Labor vote a little bit as well. But they're still expected to just hold on.
So, David, Peter Dutton reckons a 3% swing would be devastating for the Albanese government. What do you think would be devastating? We're talking about a 6% margin here. So is it 3, 4 or 5 where it really starts to hurt for Labor?
Yeah, I don't think 3% would be devastating for Labor. It would be kind of normal. Governments do often get a bit of a kick in the shins at a by-election because people know they're not changing the government. They're not tossing out the Prime Minister. They can send a message. So that's why governments do cop a little bit of grief at a by-election. 3% would be pretty normal. I think if it gets higher than that, 5, 6%, that's trouble for Labor. And then if they lose the seat, the swing's more than 6% and they lose it, well, yeah, that's a real slap in the face. But, flip it around too. For Peter Dutton, he's got to perform well in a seat like this. This is the kind of territory that's his strategy for getting the coalition back into office. And if he can't perform well in a seat like Dunkley, well, there'll be a bit of questioning about their strategy too.
David, we've been seeing these fairly controversial billboards from Advance. Do you think they're having any impact on the electorate?
Look, probably a bit of an impact, but it's really hard to tell, to be honest. I spent a bit of time during the campaign there, and look, you see this stuff around, but it's always hard to know what's going on in the minds of voters. Both sides acknowledge this. It's really hard to get a read on what's likely to happen tomorrow. But yeah, look, the role of this Conservative campaigning group, Advance, we've seen a left-wing campaigning group get up in years gone by. It's still we're yet to see how effective it is going to be on the ground. It was effective in the Voice referendum, pushing the no case. We'll see how much of an impact it has in this political contest in Dunkley.
Liberal MP Susan Lee went pretty hard on detainees being released, and a lot of that has fallen apart in the last 24 hours. How messy has this all gotten for all sides?
Yeah, it was a bit of an exploding cigar moment yesterday. So you had police in Victoria charge this guy as a former immigration detainee with sexual assault offences. The opposition then went all in question time, hitting the government for 6 over community safety, whether these people are being properly monitored, all the rest of it, demanding the immigration minister be sacked. Then, lo and behold, police say, whoops, sorry, got the wrong guy. They dropped the charges, apologised. The opposition weren't about to apologise. They're not taking a backward step. Look, they still argue the government's really dropped the ball here, and more broadly, it may still be a problem for the government. But on this particular case, it's a real reminder. Probably best to be a lot more careful while a matter is still before the courts, just in case it turns out they got the wrong guy.
Spearsy, you've got a big weekend ahead. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.